I think our vision in Bothell is extremely ambitious. Sometimes politicians, particularly in this state, think that the safest course is to move slowly and incrementally, and in reality, sometimes to make a big difference, you have to be willing to take some large risks. The idea for our revitalization started about 10 years ago with a citizens advisory group on realigning two major state highways that run through our town. And they came up with some principles about expanding our park and creating new spaces for commercial work that really were the foundation of the work that we've done over the last decade.
We didn't know how we were going to get the project off the ground 6 years ago, let alone find a way to break ground on $80 million of public infrastructure investments, which our economists predict that will generate and leverage $650 million of private sector investment.
We made it happen by being very persistent and by saving our resources when times were very good. When revenue was high, we maintained a 20% operating reserve, and we had our bond rating upgraded twice. We then identified through our capital facilities plan those projects that we wanted to invest in when the market was down, when labor costs were lower, and when material costs were lower, and then we executed on that plan.
The plan really required the city council to make affirmative decisions to support it. It required the city manager to have a lot of resources focused on these projects so that they would happen, and to continually put mileposts in front of us so that we always knew what we were working towards. And it took a lot of vision and creativity from a lot of folks, including the consulting community, that helped us really build upon the strengths that already existed in Bothell, which are the university campus, the river, and the traditions and scale and character of our existing Main Street. We coupled those with new opportunities of growth through the campus, new traffic coming to our area from the tolling of the 520 bridge, and some surplus property through the school district, which the city manager engaged into a partnership with the school district to really bring that 18 acres into the city in the most favorable way for our future.
In today's economy especially, you need to pursue public-private partnerships in order to make this type of development pencil. And I think you need to have a clear picture, a crystal clear focus on what your community wants to achieve, and make sure that you always have that in the forefront of your mind, those values and those principles behind your downtown revitalization.
About 50 citizens stepped forward to be on a committee that was initially only supposed to be a few dozen people, but the council embraced that involvement, and they've continued to be involved as we design each element of the project, the park, the streets, Main Street, City Hall.
You have to be in constant communication with your citizens. I think you have to bring them along and help them to understand with that. Just yesterday I was meeting with a group of citizens who were not all supportive of different projects we have, but I think there's nothing lost and a lot to be gained by sitting down and just constantly being available and constantly being willing to come out and discuss those ideas.
I think the biggest thing that the community has really embraced is really creating a much stronger identity for Bothell. Bothell's a city that's been around for 100 years, but its identity really wasn't very well defined. And through this process, we've become much more familiar with what it is about our community that really, that they treasure and that they want to have persevere even though the roadways will change. It isn't a remaking of the history of the city. It tips its hat to the history, but it also is a forward-looking plan that I think one day people will look back on and really think that we had a lot of courage and fortitude, and the city was a scrappy city.
I think this is going to provide downtown Bothell, which is a really wonderful and special place, an opportunity for people not just in the city of Bothell, but in the Puget Sound area to come and experience the charms of our small town Main Street. It's also going to create a number of jobs. It'll give us our first movie theater in downtown. We're going to have a hotel in downtown, and we're also going to preserve part of our history in the Anderson building. So I think in 15 to 20 years, you're going to see a growing campus on the University of Washington Bothell, and you're going to see a revitalized downtown that still keeps its character.
What has surprised me the most is that And what have been the proudest of is that our community's dream is now coming alive. I don't think anybody should ever underestimate the power of a community's dream. We in government spend a lot of time debating, analyzing, discussing, the neighborhood dispute, the lack of money, the need for more money, and what we really need to be spending our time on is in what matters. And what matters is developing great public places that leverage and stimulate private sector investment that will create these great public places for our families to enjoy for generations.